This is ENERGIZE Radio, your direct introduction to amazing radio people who do what you do and win. Advice, ideas, strategies to help you help your clients and grow your career.
ENERGIZE Radio.
Let's get energized. Here's John Cole.
Another great edition of ENERGIZE Radio, and we appreciate you being here. We're introducing you to outstanding radio sales people from across North America. Our goal is simple. We want to get you energized about getting out there and selling radio, and more importantly, hearing from people just like you that are out there doing the exact same job every day, and maybe you'll be able to pick up a little tip here or there that will make your day slightly more profitable. Joining us today from Lima, Ohio, and Fun 107.1 is Bob Ulm. Bob, we appreciate you joining us here on our podcast.
Thanks, John. Nice to be here.
So when you're selling, and I know you're a busy guy because you're also doing the news. So you're a split guy. You do the news and then you get out there and sell. That must keep you pretty busy.
Yeah, I get up at 1:30 in the morning. I can't see, so I walk about a mile to work. With my guide dog, I get to the office about 2:30. I do the news for WDOH here in Delphus, as well as 4 other radio stations the company owns in Lima, Ohio. I also am part of a 3-man morning show that's on the air on WDOH between 5:30 and 9, and then also sell, I guess what you would say would be a considerable amount of radio time in between all that.
I would imagine you don't have a lot of time, because that's a busy schedule, to hear from sales reps that are just selling tell you that they're so busy, because it sounds like you've got a pretty busy schedule.
Well, I'm kind of a hybrid. Let me say that I've been doing this type of work and working at this radio station actually since I was in high school back in 1973.
Wow.
And that is at a time when FM radio was just becoming in vogue. In fact, I had one of my clients tell me very early on in my career that we had a wonderful little radio station. If it was on AM, it would survive and do great, but since it's not, it won't. So that's kind of where my background has been. I'm a little bit of a hybrid because in addition to the things that I mentioned, most everything I sell, I would say probably 90%. I also write all the commercials. I produce all the commercials. I put them all together. We have NextGen as a system that we use. So I input all those commercials into NextGen. So it's a little, I guess considerably different than what a lot of salespeople do. I've grown into it over time, over these decades, and quite frankly, I wouldn't have it any other way. But yes, it's a full day that I work, no doubt.
I absolutely love it. So in this day, because your day is very different than a traditional sales rep that is trying to get into the office for 8 o'clock and be out on the streets by 9, you've already got over half your day behind you. What's your favorite time to be making calls where you're specifically asking for business?
I like to have anything left over from the previous day in terms of production, commercials, spot approval, all that sort of thing, pardon me, finished by about 8:30 in the morning, and then try to wrap up my day somewhere around noon, as I'm now 65. So I've kind of set a personal goal of working no more than 10 hours a day, a whole work-life balance you hear so much about. And so doing that, I would say my favorite times to make calls are 8:30 until 11:30, 12 o'clock. I should also say that I'm different from a lot of sales reps in that 70 to 80% of the work that I do is by telephone. As I mentioned before, I can't see, so it is far more productive for me to do the business that I do, and it's quite a lot of it, I guess I would say, by using a telephone. And over the years, I have gotten to the point where, particularly today with telephone, email, text messages, I actually think that I am far more productive than I would be if I was traveling from point A to point B and so forth. It's a skill that you learn. You learn how to judge people's reaction responses by their voice. But of course, I would have to do that if we were meeting in person anyway. So I guess I'm speeding the process.
So tell me a little bit, because a lot of reps that were used to selling face to face, all of a sudden the pandemic came along and they probably had to sort of switch gears and learn how to sell on the phone and use all those things that you've been using for a long time. How is closing? Like, what are some of your tips for closing when you're selling on the phone?
My tips for closing are as similar as my tips for opening. You want to be honest, you want to be real, you want to under promise and over deliver. And by developing a repertoire, or by developing a reputation of doing that I'll do what I say I will do, and that it will be done the way that I say it will be done, and that you'll hear the product before it ever hits the air. I really don't think it's a whole lot different. I can't see you smile, but you can say yes just as easily on the phone as you can in person.
You mentioned that you don't see. Can you? And obviously that would make you different than the majority of sellers. Is there something you can give us from hearing the excitement in someone's voice or hearing anticipation from a client where you know that they're going to probably jump on board? Is there something you usually hear that gives you indication that you're heading down the right path of getting them to be on the radio station?
In the interactions that I do in the selling process, much like the interactions that I have with people personally and the other things that I do and in my personal life, I always like to think that I will leave somebody feeling better about themselves or the day than they did when they picked up the phone and started talking to me. And I think we have that obligation to make it a better place than it is or would be without you. And I just carry that into the sales process.
I absolutely love that. Try and make someone's day better than with you than without you. I always say be a well, not a fountain, and that's certainly very close to the same thing. In all these years, you've been talking to customers, and you've probably talked to thousands upon thousands over your tenure at the radio station. A lot of times, clients have questions for us that whether you call them objections or whether you just interest. What's the best question a client has asked you over the years?
I've been asked, can I have a money back guarantee? And my answer is always, if you give me a money back guarantee that the next steak I buy at your restaurant will be the best I've ever had, or that the product I'm purchasing at your furniture store will never wear out, sure, we can talk about that.
I love the confidence. That's certainly a key.
Well, I think it's important to first of all know the products that you're selling. I think it's equally important to know your competition. What are they doing? How are you better than they are? And presumably we will be, because that's our goal. What can we do that they can't do? How can I deliver better service than you're going to get from another rep for another company?
I absolutely love it. And again, I can't sort of stop visualizing you getting up at 1 a.m. and walking to work and then putting in this incredible workday. It's unbelievable, Bob. I wish we could bottle your work ethic and sell it to other people.
Well, I will tell you this: when I leave the house and if there is snow is falling or there's ice all over, or as it is right now, it's 75 degrees, so it's very muggy and warm when you get to work. And I open the front door of the radio station and think, well, that should be the worst the day is going to be. And if you approach it from that standpoint, I think you'll have a good day.
Is there something along the way, because any radio station you work at, over the years, there are sales trainers you see, and there are videos you watch, and there are people that come and go, and there are different owners. Is there any one particular thing that you've learned from someone you would have deemed a mentor that is worth passing on?
I would say that my best mentors have been just the people that I have been fortunate enough to be related to, the business people that I have dealt with, and family who's been very supportive. I have never had a great amount of sales training. Maybe I shouldn't say this on this type of program. I'm not a huge consultant guy, in that I find that many of the consultants, and I've had some background in politics too. I was council president here for about 10 years, that many of the consultants that I've heard from or have listened to are people that weren't successful in the business, so they decided to tell other people how to do it. So my mentors have come from just people in everyday life, as I said, business people, family members, people that I have respected. I've tried to emulate the best things about them and try to use them personally.
That's wonderful. I think one of the best stories I've heard about a consultant is it was defined as a consultant is a person that comes into town, borrows your watch, and then when it's not working, they point out it's your watch.
Pretty much, yeah, pretty much.
So you have, obviously, if you're selling on the phone, you're always making a list of who you're going to call, who you're going to follow up with. What is one thing that you could, if a rep was watching this, that was a new rep, or maybe someone that isn't used to working on the phones or planning their day as well as you do, what's one thing you would tell a rep to do today that would improve their prospecting for tomorrow?
Be memorable in whatever way you can. I have somewhat of an advantage in that regard, in that since I'm on the air, many of the people that I deal with at least know of me or have heard of me or have heard me. And I think that's tremendously helpful. In fact, I'm really surprised that more radio operators don't use to their best ability some of the on-air staff they have, because I think they can have a pretty considerable edge, at least getting your foot in the door. So try to be memorable, try to be recognizable, let them talk. Don't assume that you've got to do all the talking because you made the phone call. Because much like any phone call you make with anyone, you need to learn how to listen better than you know how to speak.
And how do you go about discovering new customers, Bob?
My best advice there is listen to your competition. Find out who your competition has on the air, because at least then you know that the question has been answered, why radio, and then find out what they're doing and how they're doing what they're doing. If they're running a commercial that's been on the air for 3 years, a good way into the door is, I did hear your commercial in your competition, but I noticed it's the same one that I heard when my son was born 3 years ago. And we'd be really happy to let you see how and let you hear how we can make a commercial that's compelling and gets the message out that you want and would actually be fresh.
It's certainly fresh copy is always something that is A, required, and B, a good door opener. Bob Ulm from beautiful Ohio. I know you only want to work a 10-hour workday, so I appreciate you taking some time out of your busy schedule to join us and share some tips that I know reps of any experience level, they'll find one gem in there they'll be able to use tomorrow.
Well, thank you, John, for having me. Actually, you did interrupt my workday, but you did cause me to curtail my nap in the afternoon a little shorter, but I was very happy to do it. My only real advice to people, as I said before, is under promise, over deliver. Be as real as you possibly can be. Realize, particularly if you're new, that when you have an awesome day and you sold stuff you didn't think you would, that doesn't mean you're God's gift to sales. And when you can't talk the dog food company guy into buying anything from you, that you're not the worst salesperson that ever existed. Sales is a function of very highs and very lows. So keep an even keel, and over the weeks, over the months, over the years, you'll be successful.
Great advice. Bob will be listening to you on Fun 107.1. Have a very profitable day tomorrow when you get up early.
You as well, John. Thank you.